You are Locked On Cowboys, your daily Dallas Cowboys podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Locked On Cowboys. Locked On Cowboys.
Well, hello. Welcome back. It's the Locked On Cowboys podcast. We want to thank you guys for being your first listen, because I know you're listening to this show right now after the Cowboys just beat the Minnesota Vikings. I'm Marcus Mosher. You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus_Mosher. He is Landon McCool. Check him out on Twitter at McCoolBCB. And Landon, I was almost going to wear my referee costume for the show because I thought that was going to be the story of this game. And nope, I decided to put on a nice little Cowboys hoodie. Do you know why, Landon?
Why is that, Marcus?
6-1. We are 6-1.
That's right.
How does it feel?
Right. It feels amazing. The truth of the matter is that we kind of once the announcement came down that Dak was going to be the one, Dak was going to be sitting out. I think all of us kind of allowed us to breathe a little bit and go, okay, this is what this is. We have a 3-game lead. We started going through the scenarios in our head of what's going to happen if they lose the game. And then I don't know if you were going through the same thing I was. And I actually, let me just tell a quick story.
Sure.
It's Halloween tonight, right, guys? I'm in Dallas. This is why you're seeing a different backdrop. I'm here for a wedding. Brought the whole fam. We went out trick-or-treating. And just to give you an idea of what it's like in Dallas right now, people were having, they brought their TVs out onto the lawn to watch the game while they were handing out, with the bowl of the candy and handing out trick-or-treating. So I was able to keep up to date on the Tampa Bay Bucks game and the Saints game. And after that game was over and the Saints had beaten the Buccaneers, I was sitting there going, man, are we sure we don't want Dak to play this game? Because this really could end up being consequential. And the fact that it turned out the way it did, this is an incredible season so far. This has just been so much fun to watch things like this happen, and I'm just super proud of this team right now.
So, in case you didn't know, the Cowboys did win against the Vikings. They beat them 20-16, and I don't even know where to start, Landon. I think we should probably start with Cooper Rush, right?
I think that's obviously where we got to start, right? I mean, I think the expectations here were nothing. I mean, I think everyone has been down on Cooper Rush. This is a guy who was a hair's breadth away from losing the backup job to Garrett Gilbert. And that all of us, everybody was talking about is imminent. Not that he isn't still, but that it was imminently an upgradable backup piece. That if something came along, it might be worth investing here. And again, I think we all kind of thought that when he was named the starter, that this was kind of a game that you were willing to sacrifice at the altar of losses in order to get through it. He had 320 plus yards passing, 2 touchdowns. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't brilliant. Yeah, it was certainly not coaching tape for a lot of it. But he kept putting himself out there and kept on getting in there and getting hit, getting back up, making the throws, hanging in there tough. He made a few plays, which is more than I think I expected from him at certain points. But look, I think against a defense that is supposed to be one of the best third down defenses in football, I'm pretty sure they ended up, if not over or at least close to 50% on third downs. And I think Cooper Rush, whether he made the throw or not on those third downs, was a huge part of that because clearly he was getting the offense in good spots, and that's just super impressive. So
when you have a backup quarterback playing, it's not going to be perfect, and it's going to be choppy, and there's going to be mistakes. And the Cowboys had him, right? He took 3 sacks on this one. He had an interception. He had the lost fumble. So those plays are obviously rough. Well, what you want is a quarterback that can make 3 or 4 big plays in a game that can keep you alive. And he kind of routinely did it, right? Whether it was, I think he had a 3rd and 16 play to CeeDee Lamb, or the deep shot to Amari Cooper, or when you get in the red zone, can you make the play against a really good red zone defense? And he did, right? He found Amari Cooper on just a gorgeous back of the end zone pass. Cooper Rush, I think, now gives you some confidence if you need Dak. If Dak is out for another game, I'm not assuming that he's out for next week, but your offense can function, right? And I think Kellen Moore did a good job in this one of kind of trying to design some chunk plays, right? Like how big was that Cedric Wilson pass, right? That got him into field goal range, I believe, right? They kicked the field goal on that one to tie it up. I thought the offense, Landon, did well. They put up over 420 yards in this game.
It's funny because when we talked about the whole debate over Cooper Rush versus Garrett Gilbert, one of the things that we talked about consistently was the idea that this is a great offense on its own without Dak. And Dak is obviously the crown jewel and the thing that makes this a special elite offense, right?
Right.
But the idea is that there's talent on this offense all around. And if if you're trying to get through a game and just win a game, like for a good portion of the NFL, if you have a quarterback who can just distribute to these playmakers and allow them to make the plays around them, you can win a ball game with some good defense, and that's ultimately what happened, right? Is that everyone around them stepped up to make a play that was needed. Zeke made maybe one of the most impressive individual efforts I've ever seen on an 8-yard gain or whatever it was. That basically won the game. I mean, that
it's the best play I've seen from Zeke in years, honestly. It's the most important play that he's made, because otherwise you're settling for a short field goal or you're going for it on 4th and 4, right? I mean, just an incredible play by Zeke Elliott. And I didn't think he had that good of a game going into the last play, but to make that play when you absolutely needed it, he did. It was impressive.
Yeah, I mean, I think Minnesota, obviously, I want to see the coach's tape, obviously, in the end zone. But Minnesota clearly knew that Dallas was going to be running the football, and they were, loading up on him and blitzing early downs to kind of disrupt the run game as well. But yeah, I mean, I think they certainly made the life difficult for the run game at certain points for Zeke and for Pollard, and I think that play alone, I mean, was just really just the kind of play that you need to win these games by the players that aren't your quarterback. When you're in a situation that you don't have your starting quarterback in there, you're fighting against that's the other thing about this. They had a couple of really bad calls go against them. They were negative too. A whole drive's worth of negative plays, of ridiculous plays by the by the refs, and for to overcome all of that and to fight back on the road in a tough place, I mean, that's and again, to maintain pace in the NFC first seed race while losing Dak against an NFC opponent, that's gold, Jerry, as they say. That's gold.
Yeah. So we're gonna talk about what I thought was the most impressive part of this game in just a second, which is defense. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about DirecTV. DirecTV Stream brings you live TV and on-demand favorites together like never before, which means you can watch your favorite sports, movies, and shows all in one place. And the best part, there's no annual contract, so stop waiting and get your TV together with DirecTV Stream. You can learn more at directtv.com. That is directtv.com. Landon, the defense, they were incredible. I mean, just absolutely amazing in this one. Kirk Cousins was 23 of 35 for 184 yards, 5.3 yards per attempt. Minnesota had 24 carries for 101 yards. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but 4.2 yards per carry against this rushing team is unbelievable. And more importantly, they got the stops when they needed.
Yeah, I think at one point, I don't know what the final tally was. Maybe you've got that in front of you, but I know at one point they were 1 of 11 on third downs for Minnesota, and that's just absolutely unbelievable work by the Dallas defense.
They finished 1 of 13.
That's just ridiculous, and honestly, that's the ball game for you, really. Maybe even more than the I mean, obviously more. It was more of an indicator than the turnovers. Is that Minnesota could not convert the third downs when they needed to. The Dallas defense was able to get off the field, like I said, even despite some of a whole drive worth of penalties that were being called on them. I think that the thing, if you're going to point to the one factor of the Cowboys that was the driving force of why they actually won this game more than anything else, it's the defense. I mean, defense was able to keep this game close. That's what I mean, I don't know how you were, but I kept on saying to myself, looking up at the scoreboard and going, how is this game still 13-13? Like, I understand why we only have 13 points. We're playing with the backup quarterback. How is this? We've turned the ball over. We've given them short fields. We've given them tons of opportunities. Minnesota has not been able to take anything from us.
Well,
And,
I
and
want to read
that's
you
so
the
impressive.
drive by drive really
Yes,
quickly.
let's do it.
So they scored a touchdown in the first drive. Since that drive, they went punt, 11 plays, 49 yards, and a field goal. But that's actually the drive where they got to stop, and Bradley and I jumped off on special teams. So, oh well. And then they had the end of half drive where they stopped them. Punt, field goal on 7 plays, 33 yards after a turnover. Punt, field goal, end of game. I mean, that is incredible against
Incredible
I
work.
think, a really talented, tough offense. And you were shorthanded in some spots with some defensive linemen out. Trevon Diggs got hurt on the last drive of the game. I mean, I'm just shocked at how well they played, even without getting a turnover.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing is that the thought process with us has been, can this defense perform well without getting a turnover? This is the first time I think someone said since, is it week 9 maybe, that of last year that the Cowboys have not gotten a turnover on defense.
Yeah.
Which is pretty crazy long streak. And I think that it may have been, maybe their best overall performance since then, just because of ultimately what you're talking about. This is not a good matchup for the Cowboys. We talked about it all week.
No.
Even with Dak here, you and I were both concerned about this matchup because despite Kirk Cousins being Kirk Cousins, and let's be clear, Kirk Cousins very Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, he went full Kirk today, didn't he?
He really did. So, but I think beyond that, you still have to keep in mind that this is a balanced offense that can run the football. They're a wide zone team that's coached by that tree that knows how to coach that offense well. So they're very well coached on how to run the wide zone, and it's very difficult to stop the run against a well-coached wide zone team. They have wide receivers that are a core that's as good as anybody in the league. They have a very balanced offense and a quarterback who, again, despite going Kirk Cousins on us, is a guy who has had a very good season so far in some respects, throughout the year. So this was a team that we had rightly concerned that they would, just run right through us, and it looked like it was going to happen that way early on. And then they just closed the gate and didn't ever open it up for the rest of the game. And it was just really impressive the way that they were able to clamp down. And like you said, they didn't need the big play in order to stop them. They were able to get off the field consistently. I mean, more than consistently, like pretty much regularly, pretty much almost 100% at this point on third downs. And that was just something that you haven't seen this defense do. And it's a really good sign for moving ahead.
A couple things I just wanted to bring up, just random little factoids. Landon, last time the Cowboys played, Andy Dalton threw a last-minute touchdown to Dalton Schultz. Get it, Dalton. This one was a last-second touchdown to Amari Cooper from Cooper Rush in Minnesota. Both of those. It's kind of funny, little namesake there. I also saw this is the first time in NFL history where a quarterback threw a touchdown to a receiver with the first name being the same as the last name of the receiver, which I don't know if that really matters, but I thought it was interesting. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, at some point, the Cowboys are going to need to start patenting redheaded backup quarterbacks too, right? Like, I mean,
Mike White and Cooper Rush threw for about 800 combined yards today. That's actually the truth, which is kind of unbelievable. Couple of just plays in this game that were absolutely huge. We talked about the Ezekiel Elliott one. How about the Amari Cooper just juggling catch? Because that kind of changed the entire field position, right? It was like, okay, hey, now we're in field goal range. That was a pretty big one, right? What other ones did you have?
Man, the third down sack by Gregory brought new life to me. I thought that I was really concerned about what they're going to be able to do there. I'm trying to think about some of the Lamb catches to me, like he had that one big drop, and even if he had caught that pass, I don't know if he would have gotten the first down because Kendricks was right there. But I felt that. Give me.
Third to last play of the game, Jordan Lewis makes a tackle inbounds on KJ Osborne to force it to be 3rd and 9, and that the clock goes from 46 seconds down to 20 seconds. And on the very next play, Anthony Brown makes a tackle inbounds, and that's the game. Those two tackles by Brown and Lewis were huge. I know it's at the end of the game and that kind of stuff, but we've seen time and time again teams get inside the 30-yard line and they're taking shots at the end zone. for the Vikings not even to get past the 42-yard line of their own 42-yard line is pretty impressive. I cannot stop praising the defense. They were so good in this game.
We can't go any further, especially if praising the defense, without mentioning Micah Parsons' name. I mean, Micah Parsons was all over the field. I think he ended up with 11 tackles, four tackles for loss, and just was playing lined him up all over the place. I mean, whether it was just closing like a bullet on some of the screen passes, on some of the dump down passes and stuff, I think that has been the biggest difference for the Cowboys and some of these teams that play these kind of Stefanski wide zone screen passes offense is that Micah Parsons is just like a tackle vacuum, and he's
It's
just
unbelievable.
he just sucks it all up. He gets there, he closes quickly, and he makes his tackles. And offenses can't get the yak that they used to get on us, and they can't. And it also has an effect in the run game. So I mean, kudos all over the place after having kind of a down week. I felt like in New England to Micah Parsons, who was just all over the place.
We're going to get to some injury updates in just a second. But what does it mean for this team to get this win, to go 6-1, to win with a backup quarterback, a backup left tackle on the road against an NFC opponent? How game changing is that for Dallas?
It's very game changing. I mean, look, we're going to talk about injuries, and we'll look ahead and see, who's next on the schedule. I think we play Denver next, right? Or
it's Denver at home. Yes. Yep.
Denver at home. We've got what is going to be a pretty, I think, back-to-back games that are very winnable games for the Cowboys.
It's at home against the Broncos and at home against the Falcons.
Home against Falcons, yeah. So, I think you're looking at a situation where you don't want to look too far ahead, but you're looking at a situation where you're probably going to have a couple more wins under your belt if you can play things straight. Look, you're playing for a higher plane than the Cowboys have played for in a long time. The number one seed is now not just within shots reach. I feel like you have an inside track to a large degree because of your schedule, because of the makeup of your team, and because how young they are.
Tampa Bay lost today, right? The Cardinals lost on Thursday night. So you have the same record as everybody else in the NFC, and the Packers have a pretty tough schedule coming up. The Cardinals have a really hard schedule coming up with the NFC
with
West.
Injuries as well.
Yeah, and with some of the injuries, like they have games. Excuse me. They play the 49ers coming up. They play the Seahawks when Russell Wilson comes back. They play the Rams. They have some big games coming.
Yeah, the Cowboys, like I said, with this win, even if they had lost the game, they obviously were in it. But with this win, it's hard not to feel like they aren't in the driver's seat. It's all in front of them.
538 gives them a 22% chance to have the first round bye in the NFC. The only team with a higher chance at a first round bye in the NFC, the Green Bay Packers. Fitting that it would be the Packers and Cowboys fighting for that number one seed. All right, let's take a quick break so I can tell you guys about Bet Online. We are back and better than ever with a new web interface for the start of the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. Bet Online remains your number one spot for all the football and basketball action this season. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus. We also want to tell you guys about Built Bar. You know Built Bar. It's the amazing protein bar. It's hard to even explain it. Real chocolate, great flavors. It's just a fantastic combination of low calories, high protein, and low sugar with no crazy additives. Best of all, they just taste really, really good. Go to BuiltBar.com and use promo code LOCK15 and you'll get 15% off your next box at BuiltBar.com. All right, injuries. It sounds like Mike McCarthy said after the press conference that the goal was never to have it be a game time decision with Dak. They were going the whole week with the idea that we're going to sit him, but they just didn't tell us that. So good job by the Cowboys at not leaking that. Tyron Smith has an ankle injury, a left ankle injury. Sounds like he'll get an MRI tomorrow. Jabril Cox has a sprained knee. And Trevon Diggs has an ankle injury that we don't really know too much about. So a big win, but maybe a costly one for Dallas.
Yeah, Tyron's ankle is the same ankle that he had hurt earlier, so we'll see what how that is.
Do you think part of that was just them like resting him because of resting Dak? Like, there's no reason to push him through this game because
I
it
think
looked to me like Tyron wanted to
yeah,
come and play.
I mean the fact that they had him on the sideline on his feet in pads, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. Yeah, to me it felt like they got a scare and they're like, you know what, this isn't worth it either. Um,
How do you think
I think
Yamaseki played?
I thought, he struggled at times. I mean, but I think he also had a tough assignment coming in against those guys, kind of on shorthand notice. The hold they called for him,
Sure, it was a hold.
it
I
was a
don't care.
hold, but yeah.
Do you
But
think?
I
Do you
thought
think?
that looked
Do
bad.
you think if it's a long-term injury for Tyron that they would consider moving Steele back to left tackle and having Collins play right tackle?
I wonder if they wouldn't consider playing Steele. Collins at left tackle.
It's
Because
possible.
he I think he's
He did it.
left-handed.
Yeah, he did it in
And he
college.
did
He played left
college.
tackle in college.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, if it's going to be long term, I wonder if they wouldn't just start getting him more reps there and see if he was, comfortable. It
possible.
wouldn't be as difficult, I think, because, like I said, it was actually difficult for him going left to right and learning, kind of pass that's right-handed. So maybe it would come back to him pretty naturally if he had to go back the other way.
Jabril Cox knee injury happened on special teams. He got carted off. He was on crutches after the game. Doesn't sound great. We'll wait till we hear more. The Diggs one, I'm not sure what to think because when I watched the replay, it didn't seem like anything dramatic.
It looked like
happened.
it felt like it looked like he got that kind of like I don't even know what it is, that little bump that's on the outside of your ankle hit and it like really hurts. There's like a bundle of nerves there.
Yeah.
But they were working on his ankle. I don't know. It's so close to the end of the game that it's hard to determine how severe it is based on the fact that he didn't come back in, because I felt like they probably didn't even have enough time to fully diagnose it during the time that he got hurt before the game actually ended.
So we'll see. We'll see how the rest of the injuries are, but you could certainly stomach the injuries more when you win games, right? So the Cowboys sitting at 6-1, top of the NFC East. They have a 3.5 game lead on everybody in the NFC East right now.
Yes, they do.
Do they have the second best quarterback in the NFC East?
They second best quarterback. Who's the second best? Cooper Rush?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is he the second?
Oh, yes, yeah, maybe so. Yes.
I'm being a little facetious, but
yes,
it might be the third best.
He might be the second best. No, he's probably Daniel Jones might be a little bit better than him on us.
But the thing is, we're even talking about it. Who knows? Just a great win by the Cowboys. Honestly, going into this game, Landon, I had no expectations. I was watching it with some friends of mine, some family members, and I'm like, you know what? This just feels like a game that's going to be like a preseason game. If they can just hang with them till halftime, I'll be happy.
Yeah, exactly. If they can just hang with them, and that was the thing, is that stayed that way for so much longer than I expected. And by the time the fourth quarter rolled out, I was really starting to believe. I was like, they let us hang around too long. Now we can win this game.
I think once the Cowboys got the ball inside the 30 on the last drive, I'm like, all right, let's, instead of playing for the field goal here, let's go score and win this game. Like it's right here for you. And they did it. I mean, it still doesn't feel real, Landon. It really doesn't.
It's very, very odd, and I can't imagine how Vikings fans are feeling right now, and because this, it just is. I mean, they must be used to this at this point, because this seems to happen to them a lot. But the Cowboys absolutely stole one tonight, and I think, again, if we're doing this, hats off to the defense. I mean, just an incredible game.
6-1, Landon. So it's starting to feel a little special about this team, right? Like, I'm not sure how it ends, but this has been quite a couple months, right? We did lose in all of October, and we only lost once in September. It was a lot of fun.
It has been a lot of fun, and it does feel different and special, however you want to say it. Good teams find a way to win. This was definitely one of those games. That last game against New England felt like one of those games. Good teams cover. The Cowboys
6-0, baby. 6-0
against the spread.
Or 7-0 against the spread now,
7-0.
Yeah, 7-0 against the spread.
So, I think everything. We're so conscious of it now, not to call it, not to cry wolf, but I think it's time to start to admit to ourselves that this team might the fact that they can fall into wins like this, they might be pretty good.
Might be pretty good. That might be the title of this podcast. The Cowboys might be pretty good this year. Well, thank you guys so much for listening. We're gonna have a busy show for you guys this week. Landon and I will be back on Tuesday with hopefully some all 22 notes. We'll have some questions. We're gonna watch the film a ton over the next couple of days. We've got a crossover show with the Locked On Broncos guys later this week. We've got a preview show. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the podcast, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Landon at McCool BCB. You can follow the show at Locked On Cowboys, and I'm at Marcus _Mosher.